think these examples are helpful. Are you finding specifically that one of the areas that AI is helpful is in kind of this data analysis, maybe doing sort of an initial sort? And assuming so, do you think there are other areas that, have been ruled out or you're still kind of thinking about?
Yeah, great question. So we are quite open to several different areas, and the organizations in CDAO that have looked at this have identified a lot of the use cases that we have that we're now experimenting with, based on the feedback that we've got from users, based on the guidelines of the responsible use of AI. And I think one way inside Guide that we are thinking about it of how do we apply these? Because just like JADC2 or CJADC2 more broadly, it's so many different things. It can be difficult to be able to say, okay, what exactly is a tailored use case? So at least one framework that we're applying for thinking about it is first is the levels of decisions that we have to make across the DoD and the government. The way I would offer is as a way to think about it is simple tasks, complicated tasks, and then complex tasks. Simple tasks being things like data retrieval, just gathering the data that right now a lot of analysts have to just sit and manually gather data and either compile it in their mind or compile it on slides that allow them to be able to brief it out. And that process of data retrieval, that relatively doesn't feel like a simple task. I've been at a combatant command where that did not feel very simple when you have a lot of really challenging data sets. You have a lot of data that's not structured. You have a lot of data that's sitting on a paper document, some data that's in a digital document. And so retrieving that data, cleaning that data, that is something that right now we are experimenting with and finding a lot of use for generative AI and large language models and natural language processing to allow us to be able to get that information back and get it better and faster than what we're currently able to do. There's still a lot of issues with it. It has a long ways to go, but we're finding a lot of value in some of those areas for simple tasks. The next level for complicated tasks, and I would refer to those, I'd maybe frame those out as analysis or applying data for some kind of workflow. This is where I think right now generative AI, large language models have some promise, but it's certainly not there right now in its ability to actually be able to fully deliver on it. So we're experimenting with it, and we're trying to see what are the ways that you could have disparate data sources, especially ones that we normally haven't associated together, that whole idea of signal within the noise. If the signal is multiple data sets that we normally haven't put together, it could be logistics data sets that normally have existed in different stovepipes or different silos, or it could be operations data, or it could increasingly be open source data that we often hadn't looked at for a military application, but that when you bring it together with other data sets and you apply some of these tools, you can start to see some signals inside the noise that maybe we hadn't identified in the past. And so those are some of the areas on complicated data that we are starting to experiment with. And we're seeing some real promise in identifying things that we hadn't been able to see in the past. And those two levels, that simple and that complicated, those showed promise. What that does for us is really free up the humans to allow them to do that third level, which is the complex analysis, the complex decisions. And that's where we're trying to understand what is our potential adversary's intent? How do we bring in the context of what's going on across things that it's very difficult for machines and tools to be able to do that right now. And that's where we think we can free up humans to allow them to be able to do those things, to take this analysis, take these insights, and then be able to apply them to better, more data-informed decisions than what we've been able to do in the past.